You can hear him and what something he's doing there. I don't know what it is. I'll turn him down. And coming up, going to have a good show tonight. We're going to go back over some things, try to put this I almost said loss, this game in perspective, see what's next. And of course, there's the big challenge coming up Saturday. It looks like we got a rivalry again. We'll ask Shane Matthews about that later on. Graham Hall joins us and France Beard. So stand by. The Buddy Martin show is about to be on. Meldon on Monday.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening, folks. Why so glum? It wasn't a loss, okay? So, some things got to be straightened out. There are some difficulties, obviously, on offense. We'll talk about those, but let's keep it right where it is. It's 2-1. Hard to be real optimistic about some things, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do when you got to do it, and I think that was what we're talking about. And as Brendan Martin said that Saturday night, Swamp Magic. Shane Matthews knows about Swamp Magic. It happened. We're going to get right to Shane in a second. First, let's hear from our sponsor friend, a guy who's doing something really good and something that I think we all can get into, and that's something to do with helping out with Alzheimer's.
A breaking story, okay?
All right.
So this year, my wife Patricia and I are chair people for the Alzheimer's Association. And Meldon Law was founded in 1971. So for every free throw made this year by both the men's basketball team and women's basketball team, Meldon Law is donating $19.71 to the Alzheimer's Foundation.
Nice. What's the 1971? When you started the law firm?
Yes.
Very good. That's a great story and a great idea, and it couldn't be for a better cause, because we know how devastating that disease is to a lot of people and families. Congratulations. I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you, buddy.
Meldon Law, he does a lot of nice things. Where you matter most.
I know. Hey, buddy, we're just trying to keep our own minds straight, right?
That's the truth. I might need your help, so I'll give you a call. Meldon Law, we won't back down. That's your slogan, and they don't, and they're there for you. If you need help, call them up and check them out, their Facebook page. They give away a lot of stuff and sponsor the Gators. Tonight, we officially start calling this the Orange and Blue Room. But here's a guy who bleeds it, and here's a guy who actually took the pledge, believe it or not. He is an official Orange and Blue Blood, a guy that we know all too well. On the call Saturday, I got to do a better job of how to get that, because I'm not getting it all the time. But I love listening to Shane. He does some really insightful stuff. Glad to be on the air with him on Tuesdays, to have him on Monday nights. And he's got a little news I don't think he even can talk about. I can say it. He's going to coach. But anyway, let's go talk to him. Good evening to Shane Matthews. What's up, Shaner? Hold on one second. I'm going to get your audio straightened out. I had to turn it down because I get no feedback. All right. How you doing, Shane?
I'm good. All good. How are you?
I got to be honest. I'm going to give you my smile right now. Okay, here it is. That's my smile, because I almost had the Tennessee look, as Brendan Martin called it, because I broke off a tooth on Friday, okay? Friday was not a great day.
Tooth, buddy.
Well, it was actually a front of a false tooth, and I bit down into a pizza, and it came out. And that was the second thing that happened that day. The first one was my floor flooded because my air conditioner backed up. So Friday was not a great day for me, And Saturday night wasn't a great day for the Gators. So let me just start right there saying to you, put it in perspective for us. You were on the call. You saw the game. Some of the things that you were concerned about naturally or came about. They did get the W. They are 2-1. They're ranked 20th. But Gator fans seem very pessimistic lately. I mean, I've seen more comments today about, change quarterbacks, what have you. Where do we stand, Shane?
Well, I think we're the team that we all thought, or at least I thought we were going to be all year long. I think the way we played against Utah surprised some folks. But it's a work in progress. I tell people that daily. We played well at times against South Florida. Give South Florida a lot of credit.
Yeah.
I was impressed with their offensive line. I thought their offensive line was much better than Kentucky's. They made some plays. They ran some trick plays. We had some opportunities. Turnovers hurt us. We're fortunate to keep the holder drop the snap. But, I mean, you can look at 4, 5, 6 plays in every game, and that's usually what determines the outcome. But we found a way to win the game, and that's all that matters.
That really is it. And unfortunately, it's never enough for the fans because they want you to look like Alabama. And I get it. It's okay. That's how fans are. Let's take that last, chaotic. It was a chaotic day. It felt like it was going to be an L right to the end. But let's pick it up right there after the pick and Travis Johnson, and then get the ball in the end zone after Anthony had already thrown the pick on whenever he could have walked it in, it seemed like at the time. And then we see young Trevor Etienne step up and bang it in there 4 times in a row, and the last time 3 yards for a touchdown. That was an impressive job finally getting there. But then, of course, you have to stop South Florida, and that became a problem. When they got the ball and marched downfield, despite the fact I thought there were players that played well in spots like Jermaine Dexter, I thought played some great plays. I think maybe Brent Cox had his best game, I think. And Big Dez Watson. Let's give it up for Big Dez Watson because, in my opinion, watching them play over and over again, tell me if you think I'm right or wrong, one reason the center snapped the ball over the head of Bohannon and the critical play on second down, going from 2nd and 6 to 3rd and 20, was he was getting banged on. Cecil was getting banged on a little bit by big by big 21. And when he made a tackle there at one time, it looked like he was throwing the guy around like a rag doll. So now they got 3rd down and forever, and they can't complete it, and now they got to kick the field goal. Okay, we're there. Would you go with me on that part? Do you think the defensive line, where they played there, especially Watson, was a factor in that?
I mean, he could be. I mean, that's the only bad snap they had all night, and it came at a good time for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they made plays at times. There's no question. A lot of people made plays at different times during the game.
Yeah.
I just get concerned from the defensive standpoint. They ran for 286 yards.
That's a different subject, and I agree with you. I'm not saying that's not a concern. I'm just trying to isolate this one play.
Yeah, I mean,
as one thing is saying that, and then what's the guy's name that does the offensive line stuff he is? Man, I always forget. He's from Auburn. Gosh, I know I had him on the show. Cole Kubit. I had him on the show and everything else. So he made a point after the game that the way on the snap that Cecil had to turn to his right affected the snap on the field goal. And that to his right was big number 21. Okay, so the snap was okay. The holder dropped it.
No, the snap was perfect. Are you talking about on the field goal?
Yeah.
Oh, the snap was perfect. The holder just dropped it. And I didn't realize that until I saw the replay.
Yeah.
Because I could not believe how far that kid kicked that ball off the ground.
I know. It was bizarre. They were giving it on. What an unfortunate thing for South Florida. It was really kind of Coach Scott's Super Bowl. His dad was there with him. They had big ideas of beating the great University of Florida, and they thought they had it in their palm of their hand, and they couldn't finish it. But a lot of people are really unhappy that it came down to that, and really unhappy that Florida didn't do better, and they're not happy with Anthony. He didn't have a great game, actually. But on the other side of the coin, I'm going to step aside and let you take it from here. The running game and defense, when they had to have it. Now, it wasn't very good. When they have it, it really is what won that game.
Yeah, I mean, we can run the football at times. We got, we're going to play three running backs. Maybe now that we're getting to the meat of the schedule, see more Montrell Johnson. I think that's the guy that they're the most comfortable with. But we're gonna. I'm anxious to see what our plan's going to be this week, because we're going to have to be very methodical on offense, because we gotta keep them off the field, man. They're extremely explosive. I think they have a couple of receivers out due to injury and suspension. But look, college football is all college and pro football is crazy. Crazy things can happen. I didn't realize till today. I think Tennessee's only won 3 times in this century, 3 or 4 times, which is hard to believe, isn't it, buddy?
Yeah, I have some numbers on that, as a matter of fact, and it hasn't even been a rivalry. Florida leads the series 31-20. Obviously, dating back to 2017, Florida has won 16 the last 17 meetings, and leads 16-5 in Gainesville. In Knoxville, Florida leads 14-12. Neutral sites 3-1. So yeah, I mean it hasn't been a rivalry. Now they got a ball club, they got a Hendon Hooker, and it's. I'm telling you, I think Gator fans are scared to death, Shane.
Well, I understand, but I think we'll go in there and play well. I don't know if we can match them scoring, but maybe we can get Hendon Hooker on a bad day. Buddy, I don't know if you saw my show today. I got this stat.
I'd miss it today. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I'll be damned, buddy.
Well, I had things to do, like going to the dentist, Shane, for crying out loud. See my new teeth? I want to show you my new teeth.
So this is one of the craziest stats I've ever seen in all my years of being involved with football.
All right.
Since Hendon Hooker became the starter, which I believe he became the starter the week before, I think he started the Gator game last year.
I don't think he did he?
He may have come off the bench.
Started this. Okay, because I thought he started later. Okay.
They started this Joe Milton guy who can't play quarterback.
Yeah.
Ever since he's become the starter, he's thrown 42 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
I saw that stat. It's hard to believe.
That is so hard to believe.
Well, he's doing something right. And Tennessee has had a steam. They have 106,000 people coming to the ball yard. They're sick and tired of having to lose to Florida. They got bad intentions on their mind. Florida is a 10-point underdog. 10.
Sounds about right.
But if I said to you when the season started, Florida would be a 10-point underdog, would you thought that was going to happen?
Before the season started, I figured we'd be an underdog there. I just didn't know about what.
Yeah.
I think people forget that the so-called experts, most of them predicted, a 7-win season.
Yeah, it's 7. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, people predicted Tennessee to be pretty good this year. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you some questions people are asking me. I have a to answer them. Has Anthony regressed, and so why?
Well, I mean, buddy, I love the kid. I think he's extremely athletic. I don't think he's a great thrower. I don't think he's ever been a great thrower of the football. And when I say that, has nothing to do with him throwing it 75 yards and throwing it 100 miles an hour. It's about processing, anticipating, and being accurate. I don't know if he'll ever be able to do that, because I think that's something you're born with. Just like the good Lord blesses people with speed and with arm strength. You might can increase it a little bit. You know, if you're a fast dude, you might be able to get a little faster, but you're either fast or you're not. Um, so regressed, I don't know. I think people, the more tape that coaches see, they're going to say, we're going to roll the dice, because good defensive coordinators try to do one thing. It's hard to take away both. Either when you go into a game, the defense coordinator says we're gonna try to shut down their run game, and we're gonna force them to throw the football, or vice versa, because it's hard to do both. Well, teams now are like, we are not going to allow him to run the football if we can help it. We're going to force him to stay in the pocket. They don't. If you watch South Florida and you watch Kentucky, they didn't rush real hard, because if they get up the field,
they dropped 9. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if they get up the field, it allows him to step up and be able to see and have running lanes. So people call it what I call a soft rush, where they're rushing, but they also have their eyes on him, and it just clogs up a lot of stuff. So I think I mean, you know, teams are going to force him to throw and say, you know what, if he completes a bunch of balls, we can live with it, but we're not going to allow him to drop back and run around and do what he does best, and that's make plays, scrambling and running.
Okay, I get that, and I understand what you're saying. But I'm going to ask you a question. I'm a simple man. I'm not a mastermind like you are. But
I'm not either. I mean, I'm just giving you my opinion.
No, and it's valid. It's much more than mine. I'm asking a question. Going back for watching this data defense, going back way back to your old coach, John Reeves, who got picked 9 times with a similar, I think Brother Oliver might have designed it. I'm not sure, against Auburn. And here's the thing. If you can't make completions and they're paying you, dropping so many guys, and you're throwing to a crowd every time, you're having a zone, don't you have to get people to sit down in the zones at some point and throw to them when they sit down? And I'm thinking of one guy who would do that really well is Trent Whittemore, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, he played better than he played against Kentucky, in my opinion.
Well, he got more snaps.
Kentucky, he missed a lot of dudes open.
You talking about Anthony? Okay.
Yeah, the corner route that he threw to Trent was outstanding.
Yeah.
You know, he took his steps and he let it go. It's like he trusted it.
Right.
It was almost like he was throwing on air.
Right.
You know,
it was trust in that throw. You're right.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, I've never heard quarterbacks really being concerned and losing confidence in throwing the football, because that's what you do as a quarterback. You know, you go through slumps, and I just think he needs to. I said on the air when he was really struggling the other night, I was like, you know what? I hope they just call a go route, because there's no thinking when you throw the ball deep.
Yeah, yeah.
You really don't read coverage when you throw deep.
Yeah. And why aren't they calling more deep throws?
Well, teams, like I told you, teams are playing really.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to throw the ball deep at some point.
Well, we had a chance the other night when we threw the one to Justice Shorter down the sideline.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I would love to see us throw it 5 or 6 times deep.
Yeah.
Now I know they've called it against Kentucky, but Kentucky, what we've been doing is when we have thrown deep, it's been max protection, only 2-man routes.
Yeah.
Because I think it allows Anthony to not worry about hots and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, I've heard people talking about. I don't know if you heard Billy's press conference today or not.
I
want to get to this in real quick before I ask you this question about the connection between Tennessee and Florida. There's a huge connection between Tennessee and Florida, and I want to try to explain a little bit to the newer guy even before you got there. But I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, Anthony should be a slot player, or he should be moved to tight end. I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
What? What is? I mean, I don't agree with that at all.
No, I don't either. I mean, he's our quarterback. Now, I do think if Jack Miller had been healthy, he would have played the last 2 games, just because you have a guy who is a better thrower and you put him in there. But, you know, hopefully Anthony can get going this week. You know, I'm anxious to see what Tennessee tries to do to him. And we know that Tennessee hasn't been very good on defense the last few years.
And
I
he
do
might
think
he
they're
might burn
improved.
him. He might burn him.
Yeah, he could. I think they're improved, and I really think South Florida. I mean, look, we ran for 200, and I don't even remember how many yards we ran for. So it ain't like they stopped us. But what they're going to do is they're going to say, you know what, he's so athletic, we're not going to let him get going, and everybody's going to try to keep him within the pocket if they can.
217, Shane.
Yeah. Okay. That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, I take those 200-yard rushes. So we can talk about the players. Certainly, we saw some scoots. Montreal Johnson, beautiful job in his 62-yard run. Out of the road, was impressed with Trevor at the end, banging it up inside there. Obviously Naquan Wright gets his in there. So let's get to a point of the connection between Tennessee and Florida. Because there's a lot of people out there don't even know Steve Spurrier was born in Tennessee.
Right.
And by the way, he is featured on game day. You know about that?
I heard about that.
Yeah, your radio partner, your old coach.
Yeah, which is I've never heard the opposing team who is hosting game day have somebody from that school doing it. It's very strange.
His last school was actually from South Carolina. But anyway, point is so they have celebrity guests for ESPN is the HBC. So the announcement says the head ball coach and Johnson City, Tennessee native will give his insights this weekend on matchups. There you go.
He must be cheap and available.
Good one, yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about Tennessee, Florida. Now, look, I know we haven't had a rivalry for a while. Now, people it would lose connection. But, General Robert Nalen, who was the godfather of coaches, basically, back in the 30s, he was the guru. He was the guy. He was, Florida lost that game to Tennessee back in 28, wasn't it? Whatever. He was the coach, and if Florida would have won, they'd have gone to the Rose Bowl. But anyway, Nalen was now one of his players came to Florida as head coach, Bob Woodruff, in the late whatever it was. I guess it was right after they had their Golden Era team. Would have been about early 1950s. Bob Woodruff, he was there, and he had other players. One of Woodruff's players was Doug Dickey from PK Young High School, who became the head coach at Tennessee and won an SEC championship. When Dickey was hired, he was considered by coach. What a find! And Dickey came here and then later went back up as AD at Tennessee. There's a lot of connections between Tennessee and Florida that go back when Steve being born up there, whatever. So I don't know if there's younger fans who are aware of that. There's a lot of history. I could go on, but I won't. Between Tennessee and Florida, I think it's good to have a competitive game again for the league. I'm not necessarily good for Florida, but you played them. You were successful against them.
Actually, I had a losing record against them. I was 1-2.
Did you really?
Yep, lost both times up there.
Wow, that's right. Yeah, you played two. You remind me of those games. I saw them.
Well, 1990, we lost 45-3.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was the beginning of
We were down 7-0 with a little less than a minute. We drive down, throw a corner route to Kirkpatrick in the end zone. Probably the only pass in his career that he dropped. So we would have tied it up going into halftime. We had to kick the field goal. So it was 7-3. Opening kickoff, Dale Carter runs it back for a touchdown, and it was like snowball effect. They beat the crap. And then we beat them. We beat them at home in '91. My junior year, my senior year, we got clobbered up there. We were not very good in the pouring monsoon. It looked like Niagara Falls coming down those steps of that stadium. It was raining so hard.
Yeah, and it can get pretty electric there in once Seals Watkins, and I've been there when they had those big crowds and when they didn't. All right, so let's bounce around a couple other things. Here's something maybe you didn't know, maybe you did know. We got about 3 minutes anyway. Tim Tebow apparently rents out his Heisman Trophy. You know this?
I think somebody mentioned. Well, I think he does it for the.
He auctions it off for a year, and the winner keeps it for a year. You know who's got it right now?
Luke Bryan.
You got it, buddy. You win the contest.
I'm a country music guy. I was hoping Morgan Wallen who's the #1 country artist in the world right now.
Oh yeah.
He's a big Tennessee Vol kid, so I was hoping he'd be the guest picker.
Well, there you go. Luke Bryan. I like Luke Bryan. I think he's pretty good. I'm not a big country, but
He's a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, I know.
But he actually went to Georgia Southern.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So all right. So I was going to give you some applause, but I can't make the applause button work. So there you go. All right. So yeah, apparently the auctions for Tebow has raised over $1 million. Good for Tim. He does good stuff. All right, real quick, I'll give you a couple of quick stats. See what you know about it. Jalen Kimber, according to PFF, best cornerback performance of anybody in the country. His grade was 92.7. We talked about this before when he made the play in Utah and he got beat, and you said great route, great defensive play, and he made the play and great job, and he vindicated himself with that interception and pick six, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a huge play, and
yeah,
people may not notice, but that dude is playing defensive back with a cast that goes up to about elbow, and it's a club.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a play on his part.
And he could have opted out and got surgery, and he didn't, right?
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I think it's amazing. You see defensive linemen and linemen play with those clubs, but you don't really see a skill guy do it.
That's true, you don't. All right, so now I'm going to let you hear this. We're going to go out here, and we're going to talk about the Tennessee connection, and here's Billy Napier on his. Kudos to Kemper, indeed. All right, give me your thoughts about. Well, I'll talk to you before then, but you're gonna make your pick on your show. When?
Well, I don't pick the games anymore, but
well, that's right. You're not allowed to do that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, give me 15 seconds of how you're feeling about it, though. Which way you're leaning?
Well, Tennessee, I love them. I mean, they're so explosive. We're going to have to. I hate even saying it, but we're going to have to slow the game down in our own way and run the football. Got to make some plays in the passing game, though. I feel like Tennessee was going to play a little bit more one high man coverage. I don't know why I think that, but if that allows some shots down the field, so we're going to have to take them. We're going to have to take some shots in this game.
Shane Matthews on the call again from up in Tennessee country. Thank you, Shane. Talk to you next week. Appreciate. Have a good trip up. All right.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you, Shane Matthews. Okay, let's see what we got going on. We're going to go over here. Let me just remind you, folks, you're listening to this program. It's on from the Green Room, now called the Orange and Blue Room, and we thank the folks at Main Street Community Bank for their participation and support. They, of course, are a relatively new bank in town and one you need to get to know about. Independent, FDIC insured, locally operated, full service bank offering a broad range of financial services. What makes Main Street Community Bank so special is the people. Main Street Community Bank of Ocala, community is our middle name. Sponsor of the Orange and Blue Room right here on the Buddy Martin Show, where we find tonight our friend Graham Hall. Getting ready to tee it up. Graham, how are you, my friend? Are you there, Graham? Hey, how about now, Graham? Okay, we don't have Graham. So let's see what's going on here. It was too good to be true. So, Graham, I'm not hearing you. You hearing me at all? All right. Hang on, folks. Mm-hmm. All right. Stand by 1 second. We're going to try to see what's going on here, if we can hear Graham or not. Let's do this. Let's put this bite on here and see if we can't get this straightened out, all right? We're going to actually let you know what it was like when we did the pledge at the Ocala Quarterback Club. But here's Billy Napier, too. Hey, Brendan. Brendan. All right, folks, thanks very much for standing by. We're going to see what we can't get. Let's see if we can go grab Franz. Maybe we can hear him. We're going to have a whole heck of a lot of luck tonight. Franz, can you hear me? Yeah, see, I can't hear you now. So I don't know what happened here, but we're not getting our audio. And we'll go back here and try it again. It's not cooking, so let's see what's going on. Stand by for 1 second. All right, this should do it. Graham, I'm sorry. Are you there? Here we are. Let's try to get it. Hello, Graham. Hello, Graham. Oh, they're playing tricks on me tonight. I'm telling you what. Yeah, so... Guys, stand by for 1 second. Wait, I'm going to try to fix this. Folks, I'm sorry. We got some audio issues tonight. I'm going to try to fix.
Hello.
I got no audio. Okay, guys, stand by. We're calling in the emergency. Brendan Martin's coming over. We're going to see what happened there to the audio, which was working fine with Shane. And now this side, you can hear me, I know. Probably I can't hear you, so I'm not really sure why, but just bear with me for a second, guys. All you folks out there, I apologize to you. Let's see if we can figure out. We're going to figure this out. Meanwhile, I'll continue to talk a little bit about what I was talking about earlier. You guys can comment on it in just a minute. Yeah, it was a game that was eminently losable, and it turned out that the old swamp magic came into play. When we come back and get this audio work, I want to get Graham's and Franz's take on the final minute of that game. We got some good comments up here too about it. We'll get a couple of those on while we're waiting. All right, this is Old Home Week for Steve Spurrier. He's going to be he's a guest picker, and we heard Billy say earlier that his family's from up. He was born in Tennessee, and his parents graduated from Tennessee Tech. I'm going to turn it over to Brendan here real fast. Step in here, Brendan, like that. I got no audio with that.
Okay. Hi guys, can you hear me? No? No one can hear me? Hello everybody, can you hear me? Anyone? No? You can hear us? Alright, cool. There you go.
What was it?
We'll talk about it later maybe if you want to show me on the air.
Okay, you guys there?
There's the whole time.
I don't hear them. Franz, are you there?
Yeah.
No.
You don't hear them?
No. Okay, Franz, can you hear me?
Yes, they can hear you.
I can't hear them. There's no
Yes,
we can't
just
hear
relax.
them. We can't hear them.
You can hear them now.
No, Franz, talk to me. No. Nothing.
Try it now. Where'd you go? Matt? Yeah. Where'd you go? You just gonna walk away from the show? No, I'm gonna go. Is it working? I think so. Did you hear Franz? I changed it back to the settings that it wasn't on. You want to get in the room? I'm sitting here. Just sit there. Walk out.
All right, Francis. I don't know if we're going to hear you or not. I know you can hear me. You can't hear. I can't hear you at all. So there you go, Brendan. We got nothing. Cannot hear him. Keep talking to me, Francis. He's talking away. So, we might as well hang up and try again. Preview mode. I don't know why it's in that. I'll call him on the phone and talk to him.
one bad snap, okay. You may see one bad snap in a game, but we had two in a row by two different snappers. One by the regular center, Brad Cecil, and the other by the long snapper. And the regular snapper snapped a one hopper between the tailback and the quarterback. It was kind of like a base hit through the shortstop third base hole. Went through there and winds up a 14-yard loss. And that kind of ended their hopes. They didn't think they could score a touchdown then, and what they were afraid of was taking a sack or something that would push them out of field goal range. So they just ran the ball one play, bring in the special teams. They're right at the same place that they were earlier when their place kicker nailed a 49-yarder. This would have been another 49-yarder. And the long snapper dribbles it right to the to the holder, and he couldn't get the ball around. So we have a great picture by Chris Spears. The ball is sideways, looks like an Easter egg laying on the ground.
You're
Unbelievable that we would have two snaps and three plays by two different snappers go bad. But my gosh, that ranks right up there with the heave to cleave, with Brandon Powell's run against Tennessee. The block punt there at the end of a game in 2012 it was that saved the Gators against somebody. I can't remember who it was back then. But my gosh, it's just mind-boggling that it took that for one thing. But the second thing is this. You got to win ball games. And Florida came from behind, got the lead, and the rest of it was on South Florida's hands. I mean, they made the mistakes there, but the Gators did what they had to do to get the lead and ultimately to win the game.
Yeah, sometimes, and I think Brendan Martin called it swamp magic. Sometimes
Swamp magic!
What has to happen is I will give the crowd a little credit. They stayed in the game, and you were there. You heard them. They got loud at times. And as Cole Kublik said, I've been on this field. I can tell you how loud that is right now. What I want you to comment on is what I talked to Shane about. How much did the fact that Brenton Cox played his career game, I know the defense had some lapses, there were some issues, but big number 21, Des Watson, who's becoming a folk hero, plugged up that middle, banged on Cecil and those guys in the middle there, and they got to get some good play out of Gervon Dexter. Late in the game, friends, what does that do to a person?
Well, let's hope that what it does is it inspires Desmond Watson to make plays. Now, I got to tell you, I'm concerned about what Dez is going to be able to do in this next ball game because Tennessee tries to run a play every 18 seconds. Billy said today they do it in 20.4. You got to wonder what his stamina is going to be in that ball game, but they're going to need him because Tennessee runs the ball well. But he's confident now. Billy said after the game that Dez has lost a lot of weight, has made some personal adjustments in his lifestyle, and he said, I'm so proud of him. So let's hope that this is a beginning for this kid to really become something, because he's got NFL talent, but he doesn't have an NFL weight or things like that you got to have. They're not going to take a 450-pound guy in the NFL. He's going to have to get down to about 360, 370, and I think he can play at that weight, and I think he can be very effective at that weight. But for now, he's what he is, and he's got to be a contributor for the Gators to do well.
Friends, there's not a lot of optimism right now. Florida's a 10-point underdog going up there. We haven't seen the improvement in AR that we thought we might see in this game. the play calling has gotten conservative for numerous reasons, not the least of which Billy mentioned in the press conference today about, you can't afford to get him hurt. Maybe not taking off as fast as he should on his runs. And he survived the game, but his worst play was a pick six or pick he threw in the goal line because he put the ball in the wrong place. Billy said he had no problems with checking down on it and calling the pass play. Although at that point it seemed like I could have scored down there, walking in, and they made the decision to throw it. And Napier said he had no problem with that. He had a problem with the execution of the play. So where do we stand now with I'm still a believer, by the way, that Anthony Richardson is a major talent. I heard Tom Luganbill say on the air he's the most talented quarterback in the country. At some point, talent will get you so far. It can also get you fired if you don't get it. Where does Anthony stand right now? I'm hearing people say, well, they'll be playing tight end. All right, we doing that. Where does he stand right now going forward, and how effective can he be in Knoxville with his 106,000 people?
Well, it may be exactly what he needs, buddy. He may need to get away from home and where he's feeling the pressure to do so well. I asked him today a question about that tied into something that I said, talked to his coach about 2 or 3 years ago when he was still in high school, and his coach said he is the most concerned with perfection kid he's ever met. And Anthony admitted after, answer the question that he'll be off 5 or 6 inches
on a throw. And next thing you know, he said he's wondering, oh my gosh, are we talking now?
Put your phone down. Yeah, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. But he admitted that, he is a perfectionist, and he'll be off 5 or 6 inches on a throw, and he'll get down on himself thinking, gosh, I should have made that. My receiver shouldn't have had to reach for the ball, or the ball should have been a little bit behind him. And when the ball is a completed pass. I think he puts enormous pressure on himself. I think he's had problems reading zone defenses, and I think they need to simplify a few things for him, because zones are tricky even for veteran players, as you know. If you remember the Super Bowl in when was it that the Jets, 1968, the Jets threw a zone defense at the Dolphins, and not at the Dolphins, but at the Baltimore Colts, and the Colts had no clue what was going on. Couldn't read the zone defense at all.
Yeah.
And this was with Earl Morrall at quarterback, and Earl Morrall had been in the league 15 years at the time. So zone defenses can be tricky. Sometimes you have to simplify things and get the ball out of a guy's hands in a hurry, make quick throws that are darts. The other thing that they are going to have to do, buddy, is they're going to have to get Anthony Richardson outside the tackle box, and give him, at that point in time, the option to throw it or run with it. But he is really good throwing the ball on the run. I'm not so sure right now that he's a polished pocket passer, which you got to be. You better be polished if you're going to drop backs and throw passes against the zone. The best way to beat a zone, get the quarterback outside the tackle box, or else throw the ball short and dump it off. My belief is that they're going to get him outside the tackle box. That way he can run the ball, and he's got that option. I also think that they're going to run some option in this game. I asked Billy about that today, and about how do you do it, and he basically said, well, we're going to have to do some better things defensively, but we're going to have to control the clock too. And the only way you're going to control the clock is to go ground and pound. Osiris Torrance is going to have a big ball game here. Do you know this guy has not allowed a single quarterback pressure all year
Yeah,
long?
he was awesome. I watched the replay and I heard him was interviewed today too. And he's I mean, they go to him whatever they have to pull him or whatever they got to do. They use the right guard very effectively. And boy, at his hip, running off the Travis Etienne naturally. And the rest of those running backs are really benefited for that. And here's the funny part about it. Here we're playing Tennessee again. Would you ever thought you'd say in this day and time Florida has to play defense and run the ball to win? Can you believe that?
Well, sometimes you do. I mean, even Steve Spurrier said you got to run the ball to win. It's just that he liked running the ball after he'd thrown people silly and then run the ball and pound away and make them make all the mistakes late in the ball game. But you got to run it, but you got to be able to throw it too. And this is where Florida's got to do a better job. In the last 2 ball games, Anthony is averaging only 4.8 yards per pass attempt. Anything below 7 is not good. Anything below 6 is bad. Anything below 5 is horrendous. And Florida's only averaged 4.8 yards per attempt. It's the most telling stat in all of college football, and really in all of football, no matter what level, is what is your yards per pass attempt? And the reason being is because if you throw an incomplete pass, you get nothing out of it. So these things have to add up. It's not like a running attempt where you can gain 2 yards and get something positive, 2-3 yards here, there, and whatever, and then you break the big one. The passing game's a different animal, because if you throw incomplete, you've lost a down, you've lost a play, and you've got nothing to show for it. So you've got to get that yards per attempt up. And right now it's pretty bad. They've got to do something different this time. They're bringing in the receivers and with the quarterbacks into those rooms to watch film together and talk about things. I believe that they're trying to foster maybe a closer relationship so that they understand each other a little bit better. So they're doing a lot of things. Now, again, I think it comes down to this, buddy. I think Anthony Richardson has to be Anthony, and that means he's got to run the football.
Yeah, let's play amateur offensive coordinator for a minute, because everybody does. We watched the game and we're saying, go now. He was just a half a beat behind his decision to throw the ball, or there's kind of a reluctance. The confidence loss thing bothered Shane Matthews a lot last week when he said, I lost my confidence. And as I wrote in my piece in Gator Bait, he's looking for his confidence in long grass of Seatsbury Field, still trying to find himself. The kind of player he is with his reactions and his ability and talent, if he hesitates, he's lost. And that's what he's been doing. Now, I'm asking, why is that? What happened to change that? How can he get it back and so on? Well, there's ways. First of all, they always tell you, give him some easy completions. Even he couldn't even make those. Get some balls out there. They tried to the tight end, not very effective. We know he can make the throws, but get him to the – it's like, Franz, you're a old basketball guy. Is when you're not shooting the ball, they say even shoot a free throw to see the ball go through the hoop. See the ball go in. See the catch. I think there's got to be a way to get the ball. First of all, we've said this, Trent Whittemore needs to get more balls. Here's why. He's a possession receiver, right? And he can sit in those holes in that zone. And if Anthony can just have that light toss, get a 10, 12 pass, get him going. Because once he completes some of those, things change, and now his legs become more effective. So that, to me, is, I know it sounds obvious to most people, but it seems like it's the simple things like that. They got to get some balls thrown and caught. I don't know what's happening. Billy talked about it today. You can speak to this about they're just a little off in some of their routes, just a little off in throws, just a little off. It's not all number 15, but a large part of it is. You're the offensive coordinator against Tennessee. What do you do?
Well, the first thing I want him to do is to stop thinking so much, and I think that's his biggest problem. I think he is overthinking his situation. Mm-hmm. The worst thing a perfectionist can do is overthink. We're
And
writers.
you asked that question today of him about are you a perfectionist? He said yes. That's one of my faults. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you asked that question.
Yeah, I did. And here's the thing: we're writers, and I think a lot of people think that when we write, we just sit in front of a computer and words go magically upon the screen there.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this stuff called writer's block, and writer's block affects your confidence. And sometimes it's a matter of we are just, you know this as well as I do. So often it's a case that we are overthinking what we're doing. And when you get away for a couple minutes, a few minutes, and you come back and sit in front of that computer screen again, and all of a sudden the words start coming, it's like your fingers start tapping the right keys and the words start coming, etc., like that.
And they flow. The words flow, right?
And that words flow. And it's the same thing I found when I coached basketball. Sometimes you get kids who overthink too much. They start thinking about their mechanics. Oh my gosh, my shot's been off. What is my problem? Is it my elbow's not tight? Where's my release on the ball? Etc. like that. Am I lining it up? Am I getting my shoulders square? There's 50 things that go into making a good shot from the outside in basketball. There's 50 things that go into making a good throw in football. And sometimes you can think too much about those things. Sometimes I asked him today, do you need to just kind of wind up and let it fly? And he said, yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
And that tells me he's just thinking too much.
Yeah.
He's a talented kid. He's a good kid. He's going to end up being a great quarterback here. I'm convinced of that.
So you're saying stay the course, right? You're saying stay the course. Let Billy coach him through it. Get rid of some of these bad habits. Get his confidence back. And as Tom Luganville said on last week, the most talented guy in college football, a quarterback, is Anthony Richardson. But he's got to prove it.
Well, he does have to prove it, but I believe that he can. I believe that he will. Some guys, I think, are just too talented not to do well. Everybody goes through rough spots. We look at hitters in baseball who go through these horrendous slumps sometimes, and then all of a sudden they hit a little blooper out into the outfield, and that maybe goes 110 feet, but it drops them for a single, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the guy's ripping the cover off the ball. You get a pitcher who has not been able to win a game, and all of a sudden he strikes out a very important batter in a game, and all of a sudden his confidence gets up, and all of a sudden he starts winning games. Football, it's the same thing. Sometimes it's a little thing, maybe like tucking the ball and running and making a critical first down, and all of a sudden you think, hey, I can do this. Or sometimes it's just checking into the right play. Yeah. It can be so simple. And I think the big thing is this. At some point in time, and hopefully it'll be this week, we're going to be saying, well, the lights went on.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a case of the lights went on. It's going to be a case of all of a sudden something happened and it clicked, and all of a sudden the kid just relaxed, and all of a sudden things started happening for him. I think that's going to be the case.
Yeah. This is going to be a tough one for the Orange and Blue Bloods who took the pledge, because it's at that point where criticism is not going to help anybody except make you feel better for it. Even Billy Napier's being second guessed now, and some guy just wrote, Billy wrote, is calling crap plays. I don't think he's calling crap plays. Sometimes he gets a little conservative for me, but again, I have to stop and think, how are they winning games right now? By running the football. I'm used to seeing Spurrier toss it around the ball yard. Now, remember, Spurrier ran the ball in the second half all the time when he got ahead. So, but I think people are kind of wishing they see, we want this wonderful, wonder-kind talent to show up and start throwing 80-yard touchdown passes, and it's not happening. They are 2-1. They are going to have a tough go this week against Tennessee. Most people don't give them a chance of any kind. we'll see. It'll be really interesting to see. What if they beat Tennessee? That changes a lot of things. And by the way, Tennessee is not Alabama, just so you know. They're playing good. Hendon Hooker's a heck of a player, and they're everybody who's talked about how great A&M was, how great there's a lot of teams getting beat that were supposed to be really good.
Appalachian State beat the
course,
Aggies.
Of course.
Marshall beat
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Stuff happens. The game is. Look, how many people had already left the stadium back in 2017 when Felipe Franks flings the ball 65 yards in the air and Tyree Cleveland makes that miraculous diving catch. How many people a couple years before that, when Brandon Powell springs the block so that we get a touchdown play on the last play of the game again against the Vols. We've seen stuff like this happen. Tennessee, I don't know what it is about Tennessee, but Tennessee brings out the worst in itself when they play the Gators, typically. Tennessee can come into games with every single thing going for them in a ball game, and it'll be against the Gators, and all of a sudden stuff happens. So it could happen. And Florida could come up with the master game plan, and all of a sudden, come out there and here's Tennessee wanting to drive the ball, run 6 plays and get them off in 18 seconds. And here's Florida maybe getting the opening kickoff and running a 16-play drive. Did you know the other day in the Iowa game, Iowa beat somebody, whoever it was, with a 26-play, 99-yard drive to win the game on the last play of the game. But 26 plays, maybe that's what it's going to take then in this game is some 10, 12, 14, 15-yard play drives.
Yeah.
But, this is a good football coach. People say, well, the play calls are bad. Well, you call a play in there, and then the quarterback has to adjust. The offensive line has to adjust. There's a whole lot of things that go in there that we don't get to see, that we aren't privy of. It's kind of like the other night. You look at South Florida. All they've got to do is get a snap in there, and the way they were playing, you figure they were going to get 10 yards, and they were going to be like second and goal or first and goal inside the 10, and maybe going to win the football game. And what happens? The ball gets snapped, one hops between the tailback and the quarterback. Stuff happens in this game. You don't ever count on things happening.
Look, I hate to pull the aging veteran card here, but I'm going to say this: you and I have been around long enough to go. I've been way long. A lot of times when you start writing Florida off, that's when they start playing. It happened many, many times over the years. I can cite you chapter and verse. Let me just say, let's talk about schedules. Tennessee beat Georgia Tech 42-41. Is Tech a great team? I don't think so. They beat Indiana State, and they beat Georgia State. All right? So, have I got the right schedule here? I think I got the right schedule.
I don't think that's.
Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like I'm looking at 2020.
They beat Pittsburgh. They won their first game against Western Walla Walla. Or
that's my
like
point.
That.
My point is that Florida's played ranked teams. Okay.
Football State, Pittsburgh, and the Akron Zippers.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. Those 2 games. Florida didn't have any of those easy games. South Florida should have been, but wasn't. And we'll see how that turns out. So playing ranked teams, does matter and should matter. And I think people are giving up on a quarterback with a new offense and a new coach. And, right now Tennessee looks formidable. But as you say, in this series, friends, stuff happens. Let's see what's going to happen. If they somehow get out of here with 3-1, they've had a great start to the season. And by the way, think about it. We're going to be, what is that? We're going to be third of the season out of the way by Saturday. Already a third of the season. So we'll see what happens there. But, all right, your final thoughts, Francis. And again, we apologize for your audio earlier. Let's take us out on a positive note, and we'll tell you about Red Star, and then we'll get a good night's sleep. Francis?
Well, it's too early to write the Gators off. We knew when the season began there were a lot of question marks, and guess what? We've just found out that that's true. I think it like this: if Florida had lost to Utah and then beaten Kentucky, I think everybody would feel a whole lot better, because the idea of losing to Kentucky still doesn't resonate with Gator fans. We still think of Kentucky as one of the worst teams in football, and that program has grown and changed. And it's hard for people to wrap their arms around the fact that Kentucky's really a good football program right now. But if Florida had lost to Utah and beaten Kentucky, I think everybody would feel great about the Gators right now, even with that close call against South Florida. But expectations went up here when they beat Utah. And Utah, on a good day, probably beats a lot of SEC teams. No question about it. They're a really good football team. And Florida really played well that game. They gave the Kentucky game away. I don't know that they necessarily tried to give the game away against South Florida as they did with Kentucky, but they didn't play well. Maybe they were overconfident. Maybe they were looking toward Tennessee subconsciously and just didn't come out and bring their A game. We'll find out in a hurry on Saturday. But that's one thing that I haven't written about or brought out. But how much of what happened in that football game had to do with the fact that maybe, just maybe, the Gators were caught looking ahead. I mean, Billy doesn't want to talk about that. He's not going to say that because that reflects badly on both players and coaches. And right now, he needs to put everything in a positive light. But we don't know that. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out a lot about this football team this week, just like we'll find out a lot about this football team in the 3 weeks after that, which will be 3 straight home games with Eastern Washington, Missouri, which will be the homecoming game, and then LSU. If Florida comes out of this 6-1 or 5-2, then we're going to be saying, boy, this Napier guy really knows how to coach. And we're going to hear a lot of people who are critical of Billy Napier saying, oh, I was with him all the time. Gosh, I knew he was our guy. I knew he was going to get it. Well, maybe it doesn't work quite like that. But the guy can coach. He does have a good plan. The Gators are 2-1, which is, quite frankly, most of the experts had the Gators going 0-2 in those first 2 games in the preseason. So they're 2-1. Figure we're 1 game ahead of where most of the experts had us when the season began. I look forward to this Saturday, and win or lose, I think the Gators are going to turn the corner this season and put in the foundation for a lot of really good wins in the future. They got a way to catch up with Georgia, obviously. Georgia right now is looking unbelievably good. We can say what we want, but Will Muschamp can flat out coach some defense, because that Georgia defense is better this year than they were last year with all those NFL draft picks. So it's going to be we're going to have a roller coaster this year. Maybe we may go ascending this year. Maybe we don't know that yet. That's why you play the games on the field, where 25% of the season is through. It'll be a third of the season through by Saturday. And no matter what happens Saturday, we'll be able to look at this and say, we still don't know what our team is or can do.
Right. For sure. Okay, just to clarify, they did beat Ball State, as you said, 59-10. They did beat Pitt, was their biggest win in overtime, barely, 34-27. They did beat Akron 63-6, and now they play Florida. They've also got to play LSU, Alabama after Florida, and that ain't going to be easy. So we'll see what happens to Tennessee and Kentucky, by the way, and Georgia. So they got a lot of football left before they're going to be in be crowned champion of the East. All right, Francis, tell them about Gator Bait. You're doing a great job, by the way. We're doing a lot of exciting news coming forward. Carlton Reese has been involved with us. We have new things we're planning. We have new pages. Talk to them about Gator Bait and what they're missing if they don't subscribe.
You're going to be missing good analysis of games. You're going to be missing good writing. Folks, if you don't read Buddy Martin, I got to tell you what, Buddy Martin, there's a reason why all these coaches come to Buddy Martin and say, hey, write my book. It's because he kind of knows what he's doing. We got good people. We got a young guy named Kyle Curtis who's going to be, I think he's going to be really, really good. Yeah. Lauren Meadows is really, really good analysis and stuff. I'm sitting there outside we're waiting on the players to get to the locker room, and there are a couple of the writers asking Lauren while the writers are waiting, and Lauren is sitting there explaining what's going on, the technicalities of this. The guy knows what he's talking about far better than I do. I wish I need to sit down and pick his brains.
Yeah,
sometime.
You know some football, and you also know some basketball, and you know Gator sports about as good as anybody. Thank you for the flattering comments, but you're the one who carries the ball. You're our Montrell Johnson, so give France the ball. I just want to thank you, France, for your good stuff. I'll let you go do what you got to do. Well, I'll tell folks about our friends at RenStar, who are great contributors to what we do. We want to thank them. Thank you to France. Thank you to Graham Hall. We're going to have him on tomorrow night. We apologize. We don't know what happened, but hey, I don't know. I just show up and do what they tell me. And thank you to Brendan Martin for bailing us out, by the way. So here's the deal. People that make this show possible, aside from those behind the scenes, are our sponsors. We really appreciate it if you folks will support them. You know about Meldon Law. You've heard me talk a lot about RenStar Medical Research, and our friends over at Main Street Community Bank. Meldon Law, of course, they're great fans. They're great sponsors of the program. They do many good things. If you heard Jeffrey talk about he and his wife taking the mantle of the Alzheimer's program up in Gainesville, that's great stuff. Folks at RenStar are really, really special to me. Number one, they've been friends, and they've also been supporting of my program for years. But besides that, they care about your health in the community. How many people can you say care about your health? And they show it. They show it by offering you opportunities to check out. You go to their renstar.net, find about their clinical research trials. They do. They give you a chance to be a part of them if you qualify, and you can get compensated for it. Your travel and your time. If you're chosen, you get the medical, you get the trial medication, and they do some really terrific clinical trials, like Alzheimer's, like psoriasis, and so on. They're constantly doing trials. They've done way over 600, probably closer to 700 of them over the years. So find out more about RenStar. They're very special people. And by the way, there's a new award coming out here soon. The person who gives the most stars of the month will be the RenStar Star of the Month. And we'll get special prizes for them. So participate in that. RenStar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thank you for listening and staying with us, folks. Thank you for supporting us. It's going to be an interesting year, and who knows? Hey, things happen, like Francis says. You never know what may happen up in Knoxville this week. Have a great night, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, same time, same station, and we'll be doing this quite regular every Monday night. So let's see if we can find the close and then we'll get right back to it. All right. All right, let's go out on a Billy Napier bite. I won't do that.
They made mistakes. We made mistakes, but we made enough plays to win. So I don't think we, I know that sometimes that's part of the profession, but in our world, I don't really care about who they played or what their record is or what the outside world thinks about it. Right? We beat South Florida tonight, and I think they got a good football team. I think we'll see as time goes there that they're going to continue to be a factor in their conference. So.